Hey guys, Dr. Morse, injury experts. So, some really good games today. Saquon just went absolutely nuclear in that Sunday night matchup. It's a little past midnight here in Miami. We saw a resurgent Miami Dolphins play today. They look good. I saw them in person. Achane didn't do a lot of rushing, but he caught a fair share of passes. Waddle looked fantastic. Christian Gonzalez was able to kind of keep Tyreek Hill on wraps. Jonnu Smith had a beautiful revenge game. There were some big injuries today. Surprisingly, none in that game. But a couple quarterbacks that got banged up, a couple running backs that got injured, and several wide receivers. Before I continue, I want to cover something that I think needs to be discussed. Brock Purdy with a right throwing shoulder injury that did not allow him to, unfortunately, play this week. And they really could have used him because they did not look good. Now, the initial reports were kind of inconclusive, but updated information appears to show that this might be a labral tear. Now, if this is a minor labral tear, then he might be able to return in week 13. But if this is anything more than a minor labral tear, this could be season ending. So the labrum is a thick ligament that holds the ball in the socket of the shoulder. We have one in each shoulder and one in each hip. And for the throwing shoulder, this is very important to help stabilize that joint. So we'll have to see how this plays out. We saw a struggling offense. Brandon Allen reportedly fractured his left middle finger a couple weeks ago on a direct snap, but I thought it was fascinating that they chose to not put him on the injury report, despite wearing a obvious apparel for a fracture. So I'm not sure if that impacted him today on his non-throwing hand, but nonetheless, they still chose him over Joshua Doubs. For the injuries that actually happened today, Gardner Minshew landed really hard on his left clavicle. Now, the clavicle is the collarbone. It's actually the last bone to fuse in the body, usually around 21 or 22 years old. But you can fracture it afterwards, and unfortunately he did today. Now, Aaron Rodgers has actually had this on each side. One side he did not need surgery, he missed 7 weeks. The other side he did need surgery, also missed 7 weeks. With that being said, realistically, he's going to be done for the year, just given the timing of it. Aiden O'Connell could potentially return on Friday. They have the Black Friday game. We saw Desmond Ridder in there at the end of the game, but maybe Daniel Jones becomes a relevant option here after being somehow released from the Giants. What a crazy saga that was. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Baker Mayfield suffered a stinger, which is a stretching of the neck, usually at C5-6 level, and eventually he came back into the game. Just a fantastic human being. If you see the story about him giving money to the high school in a different part of Florida, really cool story. Nonetheless, he's playing great ball. They smashed today, and no concerns with that neck, assuming that it was just one-sided and it went away. Tommy DeVito actually ended up leaving the game for a couple minutes and came back into the game. There was no specifics besides that. He's reportedly already expected to start next week, which is concerning. Remember, Malik Neighbors was dealing with that groin strain. I don't think he caught a pass for a while. He ended up having an okay day, but he should have had a much better day. But that was always my concern, especially with DeVito or whoever was going to throw to him. Sam Darnold got lucky. He could have had a pretty significant left ankle injury. Could have been a high ankle. Could have been a version of a high ankle. But it looks like he got lucky and he was able to come back. And I don't think it'll be a big deal. Maybe there's a little bit of swelling over the next couple of days that puts him on limited capacity, or maybe he doesn't even practice. But I think he'll be okay for next week. Brian Robinson Jr. suffered a injury on the first play of the game. It looked like a high ankle sprain. It may be a medial, maybe some MCL damage just based on the video. It wasn't super clear because he was kind of rolled up underneath another player. When that happens, traditionally the high ankle type mechanism can be a medial ankle. They're very similar. They're both very debilitating. He came back in the game, but I think he only lasted 4 or 5 plays. and then that was it. And he had an amazing matchup. And that was it. He didn't get to do a whole lot with it. They did call it a right ankle, so we'll have to see if the knee isn't bothered at all. Austin Ekeler was actually either fielding a punt or a kick, one of the two, and just absolutely ran into a wall of a player, and unfortunately suffered another concussion. He had one maybe a month ago or so. So we'll have to see how this plays out. This is either his third or fourth one. I have to look at his history. But nonetheless, there's a chance he's out next week. He's already missed one game with a concussion this year. David Montgomery, a minor shoulder injury. Remember, they play on Thanksgiving per usual. There's 3 full games on Thanksgiving. There's 1 game on Friday, the Black Friday game, which is going to be interesting between the Chiefs and the Raiders. And then there are the Sunday and Monday games. So kind of spread out this week a little bit more. Montgomery sounds like it's relatively minor. Gibbs had a fantastic day again. Just unbelievable. The kid's incredible. Josh Jacobs also had an incredible day. Suffered a little bit of cramping, but I don't think it'll be anything concerning. He's also playing on Monday night. I think they play the Dolphins that night. Thanksgiving night. Josh Downs, who I was super excited about this week. The matchup was perfect. The Lions have a pass funnel. Downs has been doing really well. And unfortunately, he had 2 plays called back that were 30-plus yards each. And then he ended up suffering a shoulder injury that he landed pretty hard on his right shoulder. Likely an AC sprain, just classically that's what they are. I don't know if he came back, but it did affect him without question. So now we'll have to decide: is it enough to be concerned about week 13, or because Michael Pittman also suffered a shoulder injury, probably the same type of injury. I didn't get to see the video on that one, but he had a fantastic day. He had been struggling and has been struggling throughout the whole year with his back. Cedric Tillman on Thursday night suffered a concussion. We'll have to see if he's able to clear the protocol. And Romeo Doubs, he'll be out this Thursday with a concussion because he doesn't have enough time to clear the protocol, technically. And one of the scariest injuries of the day is Jontavian Sanders, the tight end from the Carolina Panthers, landed directly on the top of his head and compressed his spine this way. So he went to the hospital. I haven't seen any updates. My suspicion is that he did not suffer a fracture. He could have herniated a disc. He could have had a significant bone bruising and just pain in and around the cervical region. Best case scenario, he's got a neck sprain. So we'll have to see how this plays out. He could possibly play next week. He could miss a month. He could miss the rest of the season. There's a lot of variability here. But I hope he got lucky and there was no long-term side effects because, this is a talented player. And then we don't want to see anyone get injured. Just a fluky play. That's all I got for you. Hopefully you won your matchups. Hopefully you won your bets. I'm looking forward to a fantastic game tomorrow night. I will fill you in. Probably do a big wrap-up on Wednesday because of the Thursday games. And we're heading close to playoffs if you're playing fantasy. If you like this type of content, do me a favor, smash a thumbs up, subscribe, and I appreciate you for checking out my new supplement that I created called All Natural Relief that is tailored to basically be the all-natural version of ibuprofen. If you're interested in it, you can check out my website at allnaturalrelief.net, and we're helping people get off of these bad anti-inflammatories, and also will help to improve the gut as brain and other parts of the body. Thank you very much. Have a good night. We'll see you in a couple of days.